Right then, the return of Come On You Reds after a hiatus. Jamie's been in New York interviewing the MLS stars of New. No, I wish you were.
Yeah.
Right, Arsenal. I want to talk about what your thoughts are on how you've done this season so far, because your league position doesn't look too bad. You're kind of
Yeah.
joint second, aren't you? It's only goal difference that's keeping you in fourth.
Yeah.
But from an outside perspective, it all feels a bit flat.
Yeah.
Like you're unbeaten. You had the draw with Fulham, and other than that, you've won every match. But for some reason, there seems to be more problems to read about than there are things that are positive. I might be wrong,
Okay.
but
Yeah. 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 I mean, we've had on paper, we've had like a great start, haven't we? We should, we should have won every game, really. We should have beaten Fulham, and they equalised with 10 men with, a few minutes to go. We should have won every game. So it should be 5 out of 5. Um, but yeah, it's been interesting. We haven't been swashbuckling, I don't think, at all.
great word.
Must be the break, mate. It must have reignited my my vocab. Um, yeah, we haven't been amazing, but we've been. I'd say we've been efficient. We've definitely been efficient, and we have kind of. I'd say we've dominated pretty much every game, controlled every game that we've played. I don't think we didn't do a review after United either, did we? And that was a bit of a weird game too, I'd say.
Mm.
But um, yeah, I think to be honest, I think there's quite a lot of positives in the fact that we haven't reached anywhere close to our best, and we've still been winning games fairly comfortably, I would say.
Yeah,
Even the game the other day, I mean, the game against Everton, when we sort of it was it felt in the last 10 minutes quite a comfortable 1-0. Like Everton didn't really. I know Everton are not great, but they didn't really put us under a great deal of pressure. So yeah, I think there are major rooms for improvement, but it's also good. I think that we're winning and not being anywhere close to our best yet. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think about
yeah. I mean, of what I've seen, you haven't lit games up like you were kind of at times last season and free flowingly scoring goals and stuff. But I guess it's kind of always a good sign that if your kind of patch of not playing great is resulting in 1-0 victories and and still winning, then it's always been said that's a sign of a top team, 'cause 3 points is all that matters. Mate, you could argue that a couple of years ago, your Arsenal's patch of not playing well would have resulted in the odd 6-0 thrashing and, you know, at least 2 or 3 losses. But the fact that what it appears you're still kind of figuring out a few things tactically. I think Arteta's still figuring out exactly how to fit in a few players, and you're still winning. I think it's just a really good sign, and you've just progressed massively. So you're kind of winning like a top club,
that?
whilst not yet being at kind of like a full speed. So
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just look like a top club, almost almost second to Man City really in terms of opponents looking at you as a fixture. I think.
yeah. It feels very like efficient so far, I guess. But there is a bit of a like because I don't find Man City like hugely like entertaining to watch, to be honest. I don't know about you, but like they just kind of like monopolize the ball, don't they? The other team can't get a touch, and they're like amazingly efficient. They've got amazing players. But I don't necessarily find the most captivating to watch.
Mm.
And I do think that we were potentially better to watch last year. We were more exciting, more dynamic, maybe. Um, but I kind of I'm a bit worried that we might be sort of starting to be almost trying to kind of emulate them like too much, if that makes sense, in the way that we're kind of playing, which I guess is like it's a really difficult one because if we keep winning, it's like it's fine. Like you want your team to win all the time. But at the same time, there is there is a bit of a kind of fear, I guess, that we won't see as much of what we saw last season, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
don't
I mean, to be honest with you, it sounds. I know what you mean,
know. Mm.
but at the end of the day, like winning is pretty much everything.
Yeah,
I get
yeah,
what you're saying,
mm.
especially with Man City. Sometimes I wonder if Man City fans are bored
Yeah, yeah,
because they
yeah,
can
yeah.
often be so dominant, and there's such little jeopardy in their penalty box
Mm.
that it's kind of like, is this entertaining? It's almost enjoyable for a fan to have a little bit of risk, a bit of risk, like
Yeah, yeah,
have,
yeah, yeah,
have
yeah.
going into games thinking, oh, maybe we'll lose, like there's a threat on their wing, and like, but
Yeah,
so I get
exactly.
I get your point.
When you're
But
watching a game, sorry.
no, carry on, mate.
Right, I was going to say when you're watching a game, and like I don't know, you've got sort of like 80% possession, and you're just kind of like fast, but it's possession where you're not really necessarily trying to score all the time. It can definitely kind of like take I don't know, just kind of give the game a bit of a deflated feel maybe. But I mean, look, like Arsenal haven't won. We've obviously won like quite a few FA Cups, which is great, but we haven't won, the Premier League for like 20 years. So, if we can win it any way possible, that would be amazing right now, of course. But there definitely does seem a bit of a style shift potentially. I also don't know whether that's kind of just Arteta, like as you say, he's trying to find his best team, trying to find his best system. Um, I think Timber was going to be a big player. He's been ruled out for pretty much the season. Um, Still trying to work out maybe, or maybe he knows who his best keeper is going to be. But that's kind of a bit of a like transition phase there as well. So it's kind of quite a bit of change. So that might also be, the team kind of trying to find their identity. But as long as they're winning, that's like the main thing, I guess.
Yeah, I really get your point, though. I really get your point. Even as a Forest fan, there's something about the fact we've made it into the Premier League, which is unbelievable. But I
Mm.
think the 23 years in the Championship, and it's almost like the chase to get into the Premier League was the exciting part.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're here. I'm not saying I'm not happy about it at all. Like, I really am. But it's almost like now we're here. I've lost that buzz of wondering what it's going to be like back in the Premier
Yeah.
League.
Yeah.
And I think you guys have had so many years of disappointment and kind of like having games where your blood pressure's through the roof and embarrassment and stuff, that suddenly you're in this sort of settled period of winning and looking comfortable winning. It's like I'm used to a little bit more octane. I'm used to a little
Yeah.
bit more jeopardy. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you make of Arteta's comments about sort of rotating goalkeepers in the match and stuff? And
It's so interesting, isn't it?
it's crazy.
He almost looks a bit of a madman as he's saying all of it, doesn't he?
I know.
I mean, like, I was listening to an big Arsenal podcast about it as well, and they were kind of thinking that, like, it's so interesting, but they're still doubting the potential, like, veracity of what he's saying. I guess, is he actually going to change his goalkeeper? Like 60 minutes into a game, is he actually going to play Raya one game, play Ramsdale the next, or is he just going to have a number one? And is this just to kind of, this talk to kind of like, I don't know, try and keep Ramsdale sweet a bit potentially? I'm not sure, but it's so interesting. I mean, I don't know.
If you had to put your house on it,
Yeah,
who do you think he's got lined up as his number one? If you had to
yeah.
gun to your head, does he fancy Ramsdale?
Gun to my head. I think he's got Raya lined up as his number one. I think that's why he's brought him in.
Yeah,
I think he has got him lined up as number one. And it's madly harsh on Ramsdale because Ramsdale's been great for us. He's been great. But Arteta is ruthless. He is.
I guess you have to be.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Arsenal's been lacking, is that ruthlessness.
True.
Too nice, maybe.
True. And you can see, like Ramsdale is really, really good on the ball. Like his distribution is really good. but when he's on the ball, he still looks like a goalkeeper, if that makes sense. Whereas Raya on the ball, he looks like an outfield player, and his passing's maybe a bit better. So maybe Arteta just thinks that small 1 or 2% is really, really crucial. So it does look like I think Raya will end up being number one potentially. But I also think Ramsdale's going to play in the Champions League tomorrow. I think he'll try and keep Ramsdale sweet that way potentially.
So interesting.
It is, yeah.
But it's going to be really interesting seeing how your season unfolds. And I guess if it feels like you started slow. So I guess the ideal scenario is that you pick up pace and, you continue winning. So, it looks to me like you're kind of set fair for another good season. I don't want to tempt fate or anything. But,
yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how it unfolds.
We've got some big games coming up. We've got obviously Champions League tomorrow for the first time in 6 years, which is really exciting.
Yeah, that's massive. Yeah,
that'll be good. And then we've got North London Derby on Sunday, and then I think 2 weeks after that we've got Man City at home. So massive couple of weeks coming up.
I can't think of a much bigger North London derby in recent years. I know that it's so early in the season.
Yeah.
And I know that in relation to how the season pans out, whether you win or lose doesn't necessarily have to have a bearing effect on league position. It just feels like that with Postecoglou, they've developed this momentum themselves. They're playing really nice football.
Yeah.
So I think more just as like a bragging rights, like who's still the top dog in North London. It feels like a really big game. Like I'd really enjoy being an Arsenal or a Spurs fan for that, I think.
Yeah, no, it should be a good game. But I do wonder whether Spurs' early season form is a bit misleading. But we'll see.
Yeah, well, they've clawed a few miracle results out, haven't they? But I did watch them. I've watched them a few times, and it has been fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fun doesn't always get you wins, does it? But
that's it, big game. I guess we'll be hopefully coming back with a preview of that one, and maybe a quick review, potentially a quick review of the Champions League when we do it, but mainly previewing the Spurs game at the weekend.
We will review what we can and preview what we can. I guess if you're a subscriber to this channel, and I think we've got about 6 or 7, then you'll see when our videos upload. We're not the most organised sort of YouTube producers in the world, but we do our best, and
we're getting there.